The truth about the real cost of living in Cincinnati, Ohio in 2026. If you've spent 5 minutes on TikTok lately, you've seen it. People packing up from Brooklyn and Austin and San Diego and LA and dropping a pin right here in Cincinnati, Ohio. And every single one of them lands in our inbox asking the same question. What does it actually cost to live in Cincinnati? Here's what nobody on the internet will tell you straight. The cost of living in Cincinnati in 2026 is not what those clickbait cheapest cities in America videos actually claim. It's better in some ways, and in others, especially if you pick the wrong neighborhood, it's a lot more expensive than people would leave you to believe. So stick with us for the next 10 minutes or so, and you know exactly what your dollar buys here, what your real monthly budget should look like, and which Cincinnati suburbs are actually worth the premium in 2026. So let's get into it. Number one, how Cincinnati stacks up against the national average in 2026. I'm Peter Chabris with the Chabris Group, and in 2025, our team served 613 families buying and selling in greater Cincinnati, and a huge chunk of them were relocating from out of state. Almost every one of them sat down across from us with the same worry. They'd heard Cincinnati was affordable. What did that actually mean for their family? Their grocery bill? Their property taxes? And what about their commute? So today we're gonna walk you through it the same way we do over coffee at a listing appointment with our clients here in Cincinnati. Real numbers, real sources, no spin. So let's start with the headline here. According to Redfin's 2026 Cost of Living Index, which pulls from the Council of Community and Economic Research, Cincinnati's overall cost of living is about 3% below the national average, which is good. Salary.com puts it at the same 3% below as of February 2026. Two reliable sources, identical answer. Now, that 3% figure is frankly a little boring in and of itself. The real story shows up when you break it apart. Housing in Cincinnati is roughly 11% cheaper than the national average. It's a big deal. Utilities run about 1% lower. Transportation is about 1 to 2% lower. Groceries are basically a wash, maybe 1% higher, depending on the week and where you shop. And healthcare is the one place that tips slightly above at about 4% over the US average per Redfin and PayScale. So, if you're moving here from a coastal market, these savings won't really be evenly spread. You'll feel them most, though, when you sign your mortgage. That is where Cincinnati really shines, and that is where you want us to start. Let's open the books. What it really costs to buy a home in Cincinnati, Ohio in 2026. This is where it gets super interesting because the house price answer depends on which source you trust and which slice of the market you're looking at. What do I mean when I say that? According to the Redfin's March 2026 data, the median sales price inside the city of Cincinnati was $290 grand, up about 10% over last year. Zillow's Home Value Index, which kind of smooths out the monthly noise, puts the typical Cincinnati home value at $238,000, up 3.6% over last year. Why the gap? Well, Redfin tracks recent MLS sales, so it swings fast with whatever's selling that month. Conversely, Zillow tracks the entire housing stock, so it moves more slowly. Both are right. They just measure different things. For greater Cincinnati as a whole, including the suburbs, we're seeing a median sales price right around $310,000. That's the number we quote most often when people coming in from Cincinnati ask us what to budget. And if you're already a Cincinnati homeowner, maybe selling that first starter home or trading up into something bigger now that the family has grown, these numbers matter to you just as much. Knowing what your current home is worth in 2026 against where you want to land is half the battle. And that's a conversation that we have every single week with our clients. But you didn't move here for average, right? You came to a neighborhood. So let's get specific. Mason is one of the most popular suburbs in the metro for relocating families. Top schools, brand new construction, a walkable downtown, and quick access to I-71. You'll generally see homes priced in the mid 400,000s and up, with newer builds pushing into that 600,000 plus price range. Westchester, of course, sits next door. Similar suburban feel, strong schools, easy commutes to either Cincinnati or Dayton, which is kind of nice. Pricing tracks closely with Mason there. Montgomery is where things climb. The median home price there sits around $729,000, and there's a real reason for that. Top-rated Sycamore schools, tree-lined streets, and that storybook small town feel, just 20 minutes from downtown. Hyde Park, of course, is the city's classic walkable neighborhood. You know, the famous square, locally owned shops, and historic homes. Family homes there typically run from the high $500,000 into, frankly, the millions, depending on the block. Downtown Cincinnati is the move for transferees who want zero commute and a true urban lifestyle over the Rhine, the banks, and the riverfront. Condos, lofts, and new builds typically run from the low $200,000, there's not many of those left, to the high $500,000 and above, depending on the view and the building. Penthouse condos, of course, can run in the millions. Blue Ash is a relocation favorite for one big reason: the jobs. With its corporate quarter and a thriving downtown of its own, Blue Ash is a true live, work, play setting, and pricing tends to range from the high $300s to the mid $500,000 for single-family homes. It's frankly the best value play if you want to be in Sycamore schools, for sure. Anderson Township on the east side has been one of the fastest rising areas in the metro. According to recent local MLS data, the median home price in Anderson is around $353,000, appreciating roughly 17% year over year, one of the strongest jumps in greater Cincinnati. But none of that really matters until you know what your monthly nut actually feels like. So let's talk taxes. Taxes, utilities, and the monthly bills nobody will warn you about. This is the part that catches almost every relocating buyer off guard. Pay close attention here. According to the City of Cincinnati's Finance Department, anyone who lives or works inside of the City of Cincinnati pays a 1.8% local income tax. That may sound small, but on a $150,000 income, that's another $2,700 a year. The good news? Cincinnati's 1.8% is the lowest of Ohio's 4 big cities, so we're grateful for that. Columbus, Cleveland, and Akron all sit about 2.5%. So we win that round. On top of that, Ohio state income tax. According to the Ohio Department of Taxation, the state moved to a flat 2.75% rate for 2026 for most earners, with a zero bracket on the roughly first $26,000 of income. Ohio simplified the entire system. It's much cleaner and more competitive than it used to be. For property taxes, per Smart Asset and the Ohio Department of Taxation, the effective property tax rate of Ohio is 1.22%. Hamilton County, where Cincinnati sits, runs slightly above that. Butler County and Warren County, where you'll find Mason and Westchester, respectively, vary a bit by school district. The big takeaway is this: on a $400,000 home in our area, you're usually looking at a property tax bill somewhere between $5,500 and $7,500 a year, depending on the township and the school levies. Note that that can change dramatically based on what municipal taxes look like at the local level. Sales tax in Cincinnati is 7.8% when you combine state and county taxes. Manageable, right in line with the national average. So now for the fun part, utilities. According to salary.com, the electricity rate in Cincinnati is about 12.67 cents per kilowatt hour, which is below the national average. Most of our clients tell us their first full utility bill, gas, electric, water, sewer, trash, lands somewhere between $200 and $300 a month for an average-sized home. Cold winters do bump the heating bill, so factor that in if you're coming from somewhere warm. Now, before the Iran war's price fluctuations, gas at the pump sat around $3.25 per gallon, according to the cost of living index published in early 2026, which is a few cents below the US average. So you pull it all together, and Cincinnati is a city where your housing dollar stretches further, your utilities are reasonable, and your taxes are fair. Now let's talk about the day-to-day. Real quick, here's what we tell every family who calls us, whether they're flying in for a corporate transfer, listing their first home and trading up across town, or just sizing up a move. The number on a Zillow listing is only half the story. The other half is everything we just walked through and everything we're about to get into. The neighborhood premium, the school district, the commute, the lifestyle. That is what decides whether your move feels like a win or a regret. If you're seriously thinking about Cincinnati in 2026, do yourself a favor and grab our free relocation guide. It breaks down every neighborhood we just mentioned: top schools, neighborhoods, major employers, and the little local tips you won't find on Redfin. We built it for the exact buyers and sellers we just described. All right, let's keep going, because the next chapter is where most folks actually decide whether Cincinnati is for them. Groceries, eating out, and the day-to-day cost of living in Cincinnati in 2026. This is the chapter most YouTube videos will skip. We're not going to do that for you. According to Rent Cafe and the C2ER Cost of Living Index updated March 2026, a gallon of milk in Cincinnati runs about $4.64. A dozen eggs, $4.53. Pound of potatoes, $4.84. Groceries overall, they track about 1% of the national average, which means if you're coming from Nashville or Indianapolis, you'll barely feel the difference. If you're coming from some place like Los Angeles or New York, you're gonna feel like you're stealing food off the shelf. Eating out is where Cincinnati really earns its keep. Not only do we have a great restaurant scene, but a meal at a mid-range sit-down restaurant for two typically ranges between $50 and $70 before tip. A movie ticket costs around $12.77 according to Rent Cafe data. A haircut, about $28. Dry cleaning for a standard order averages around $17 according to recent Metro data. None of those numbers is dramatic on their own, but they do add up to a city where going out doesn't drain your bank account. Now let's talk about childcare. Most people forget this category until it's too late. According to Salary.com's 2026 cost data, childcare for a child up to age 3 averages around $9,000 a year in Cincinnati. That can swing higher in the premium suburbs that we covered earlier. But compared to coastal cities where families easily drop $25,000 to $35,000 a year per child, Cincinnati is seriously affordable. Healthcare is the one place where we trail the national average a little bit. According to PayScale, healthcare in Cincinnati runs about 4% above the national average. The flip side is that we have world-class hospital systems, including Cincinnati Children's, which is consistently ranked among the top 3 children's hospitals in the country by US News & World Report. You're paying a small premium, and you're getting elite care for it. So add it all up, and Salary.com estimates the total monthly cost of living for a single person in Cincinnati is about $2,397. For a family of 4, they clock it in at $5,279. That's a very livable number for a metro of 2 million people. Now, let's bring this home with the part that you care the most about. Is Cincinnati worth it in 2026? Salaries, quality of life, and the real math. The question isn't whether Cincinnati is cheap. The question is whether Cincinnati is a smart move. And to answer that, you've got to compare the cost of living to what people are actually earning here. This is the magic. According to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average annual wage in the Cincinnati metro is around $61,750, with an average hourly wage of $29.69. That's for the metro overall. In the white-collar professional segment, relocating in on a corporate package, trading up into the next house, or just listing that first home for the first time, salaries climb significantly higher. Most of our clients are pulling 6 figures because Cincinnati is home to Procter & Gamble, Kroger, Fifth Third Bank, Western and Southern, and a stack of other Fortune 500 employers. Now, compare that to a median home price in Greater Cincinnati of about $310,000, and you start to see why first-time buyers here can still actually buy, and why first-time sellers can still actually trade up without leaving the metro area. According to recent National Association of Realtors affordability data, Cincinnati ranks among the most affordable major metros nationwide for first-time homeowners, and one of the few places left where moving up to your next home is still mathematically realistic. That's the real headline in Cincinnati. Cincinnati isn't just cheap. Cincinnati is one of the very few large American cities where a normal middle-class income still buys you a normal middle-class life. A single-family home with a yard, a short commute, good schools, Friday nights at a Reds game or a Sunday afternoon Bengals game, Saturday mornings at Findlay Market. That equation is broken in most US metros right now, and it's still working here. That's why we do what we do, and why our team has been so busy helping families relocate, list, and trade up in Cincinnati. Quick recap. The cost of living in Cincinnati, Ohio in 2026 is about 3% below the national average overall. Housing, more importantly, is 11% cheaper. Utilities, transportation are slightly below, groceries right at average, and healthcare is a touch above. The median home price in Cincinnati is around $310,000, with Mason and Westchester offering strong family value, Montgomery and Hyde Park on the premium end, and downtown for the urban transferee, Blue Ash for the live, work, play crowd, and Anderson Township leading the metro in appreciation. City income tax is 1.8%, the lowest of any major Ohio city. Property tax effective rates run around 1.2%, but can vary dramatically from place to place. And a family of 4 can live comfortably roughly on $5,300 a month. That's the truth for Cincinnati affordability in 2026. If you're thinking about making a move to Cincinnati or just moving across town, we'd love to be your local guides. Reach out through the link in the description or grab the free relocation guide that we mentioned earlier. Our team has helped hundreds of families just like yours land softly in Greater Cincinnati, and we would be honored to do the same for you. Oh, before you go, watch this next. We just dropped a brand new video called Never Buy These Types of Houses in Cincinnati. It's the perfect follow-up to this one and could save you tens of thousands of dollars on your next home. So click that thumbnail, subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.